creating evening render like this in Corona. So this tutorial is, the eighth part of the tutorial series about beginners guide to Corona render. So if you have not watched the previous tutorial, you can get it on the link that is showing above, at the upper right corner of your screen here. So now let's go into it. We open the file and we test it out what is on it right now, and I'm going to just click on start interactive rendering in the Corona VFB on the Corona toolbar here. So it's loading some of the error messages that are not really going to affect us, so I'm going to take that one out for now. Right here, this is what we have. It is still afternoon rendering, and we want to turn it to evening. So the first thing to do is let's just remove the Corona sun that is present. Now we have this. This is only the sky, and you can see that it is giving us actually a dark mood already, and we can continue to build on it like that. But our reference image here is showing that there are some kind of cloud around here. We have a range of colors there, and the blue that we have at the background here is totally different from this, so it's suggesting that it was done in another way. Meanwhile, this was actually a V-Ray rendering. So, but it doesn't matter. Like I always say, you can use Corona to do what V-Ray can do, and you can use V-Ray to do what Corona can do as well. So let's just move on. So we are going to be using HDRI for this. So that's what was used to actually get this nice, environment mood. So what I'm going to do is I will open Cosmos browser and wait for it for a while. So sometimes Cosmos browsers can be slow to open based on your internet speed. So you just have to wait for it for a while. And in this case, I don't know what's wrong. It's opening two browsers, at the same time. So I'm going to close one of them. So I'm going to close this and leave this open. And I'll choose HDRI. And under HDRI, I'm going to change to evening so that it's going to show me only evening HDRI. Now you have different ones and you can try many of them out. And, I can assure you that normally when you want to work, you will have to choose them one by one and try it out till you get the one you want. So there's no hard rule about it. Just test them out. Because in tutorials like this, you don't actually get a lot of things that goes on in the background about setting out some things. Tutorial supposed to be short, you get, and you quickly make the tutorial. But in reality, you might actually spend quite a number of time to search for the appropriate HDRI to use. So I can't be wasting that time here because of time. So what I'm going to do is I know the HDRI that was used, so which is sunset 18. So what I'm trying to say is to arrive at this sunset 18 was not that easy. So it was all about testing different HDRIs before settling down for the sunset 18. So you need to bear that in mind in case you try to put HDRI in your work, and you see that, oh, I'm not getting the results as quick as it was gotten in the tutorial is there to guide you, of course, but you need to know that it's not everything that will be taught in the tutorial. So please note that and understand that if you are not getting it at the first time, it is not a problem at all. So now we have this If you notice the image, the image here is still a little bit dark, and it's because the exposure is set to -4. So I'm going to leave it on 0 for now. And having done that, you'll see that it's still too bright now. So how do we balance, the brightness of the image and the HDRI? So what I do is I come to render setup, and on the render setup, I go to scene tab, and also I'm going to open material editor, and I'm going to show you something. So if you go to the environment, uh, environment panel of the scene tab in the render setup, you are going to see that the scene environment is on single map. Now, if I take it back to 3ds Max setting, you'll see that now it is using the exposure control that we the sky environment that we have here. So anytime you click on you import your HDRI from here, so it's going to automatically change to single map from here, and that is why we have the HDRI. So all I need to do is to drag that HDRI out and drop it into the material editor, and now I can edit the HDRI. But what I want to edit on the HDRI is the intensity, and to edit the intensity right, I will need another bitmap to do that. And to get the bitmap, I'm going to just right click in the viewport here, and choose maps. I mean, in the material editor viewport, you right click, you choose maps, and you choose corona, and you choose color correct. So I choose the color correct, and I can plug our HDRI map into the color correct input, and now anything I want to do on the HDRI will be on the color correct. And because of that, I'm going to, let me minimize that and open the render setup. So I'm going to drag the color correct. Now I've input the HDRI into the color correct. So the HDRI that is here, I need to override it with the color correct like this. So having that, I can now open the rendering and edit the color correct. So this is one of the reasons I always advocate for bigger screen, because sometimes you will need to put them side by side and start working, and everything seems like there's no space. So if you can afford a bigger screen, believe me, it's the best. So now under the color correct, you see the properties here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on these properties, but the most important one for now is the exposure. The exposure is on 0, so I'm going to actually put it on maybe -2. So you can see now we are getting back the um we are getting back, the exposure is not too bright again, but I think we should go -3. So I think -3 will actually make sense. So that is how set the HDRI intensity, and everything looks good, nice, but the reflection on the glass here is actually looking weird as far as I'm concerned. So how are we going to tackle that? We are going to pick that glass. So I can pick the glass material, and normally one of the things that you're going to see is the color. The color here is almost white, so I'm going to drag it back down to black. I prefer black because black is going to reflect more than white, because white have its own reflection by itself, but it's still not coming out the way I would like it to come out. So what can I do? Again, the IOR is good, and it seems like the material for the glass is good as far as I'm concerned. So what can I do to actually bring that reflection out much more? Then I think the curtain that is in the build is actually too white as far as I can say it too. So I'm going to just select it and change the color to something like dark gray, something like that gray like that, and still it's uh oh sorry, this is translucency. This is the color, so something like dark gray. You can see now, see the reflection here now, it is much more sharper. So what is behind the glass is as important as the glass itself. And you can see now that by the time I actually make those changes, the glass is actually much more transparent, reflective. So that's the word that I was going to use. So next time, always note that the two materials that are coming together, you need to see the way, this one is serving like background and the glass is transparent. So definitely the object at the background, the color will affect whatever we are seeing on the glass. So next thing we are going to do is to create, let's stop the rendering. So now we can set up some other lights, and for it to be quick, I'm going to open the layer and off some layers. So trees off, some of the layers that I don't think I'll quickly need. So the idea is to just have a very simple, stuff like this that I can quickly work with, then get back to it. So I'm going to just pick light and I'm going to change the shape to rectangle and draw the light. So I'm on an hidden layer, which is a tree layer, and that's why I didn't want to create. I will go to the light layer and turn it to the current layer and draw light now. So as I draw it, I can give it maybe some size, 1200 by 1200. What I want to use it for is for the interior lights. So I can put it there. I can, begin to distribute it as instance. So put it here too. Put it here. Put it here. So the idea is just to give it, random light, in the inside of the building to simulate that, okay, they have artificial light inside and, all that. So I can just move it now to the base of the floor on the first floor, on the ground floor. So, and I do the same thing, up there and just copy it up, 2 times. So we have that. Some area are going to actually be problematic like this area now. So I'm going to just move this in. I don't need this one here because there's no space there. And if I am right, I think I don't need it here too. So there's possibility that this and this are entering the floor, so I don't need to let them go too much up like that. And now that I'm through with that, I'm going to on all the layers that are hidden, and let's render and see what we are going to have. So coming up. So this is what we have. It's not really looking like it, and it's giving me that effect that we were having before. So what are we going to do with that? It's not a problem. I'm trying to, it seems like it's a little bit slow. I don't know why. So I'm going to select the light, and the first thing I'm going to do about it is I'm going to change the color to Kelvin, the color temperature to Kelvin, and change it to 3500. And you can see the effect here. And it seemed to me like it is too low. I want it to come out, a little bit more. So what I can do is to increase the intensity, maybe to like 100, and see what we are going to have there. Okay, maybe 500. So the 500 seems to be too much. You can see how much it is. So let's just leave it maybe at 200 or 100. I think 100 is going to make sense in this case. So that's how to deal with that. I think I'm okay with that. So the next thing to do is to look at another light. So I'm going to look at this light in the entrance like this, and that light is a light that was converted from V-Ray, and that's why we are seeing the name as V-Ray light over there. So I'm just going to enable it. I think the intensity is perfect for what we want to do. So it is, 2000, and I think it is perfect. So the next light is to enable the lights that we created at the garage the other time, or yeah, the parking lot or something like that. So I'm going to enable it, and it is 1000, and that's fine there. But to me, it's too bright. It's too bright over there. You don't want, an area to be too bright than necessary. So I'm going to reduce it to like maybe 200, I guess. So you can see now the 200 is okay, but I think 100 will even be much more okay. You don't want it to take attention away from every other thing. So you put it at a moderate, intensity over there. So if there should be anything that will take your attention, so it should be, all around here, the entrance of the building. I think I'm okay with this. I think it's looking cool, and I feel okay. Let me work on, the other light, and let's do the wall light that we have here. And of course, I've put it like that too. If you remember, I copied it from another file. I brought it in the other time we were working in the daytime rendering. So I'm just going to enable it, and see the way it looks. 10,000, you know, um, watt. It seems like it's okay. Maybe I should reduce it to maybe 5,000. Yeah, I don't want it to be too much too. This type of lights are actually, accent lights, meaning that they are just there to create that mood effect. So now they are very, very good, and I like the way everything is coming out. So the next thing I'm going to do is to come to the light in the bollard lamp, and I guess I showed you as well. Maybe I copied it or something, and it's very, very easy to create anyway. You create a light, you change the shape. So it is sphere that we have here now, and you just draw a sphere, and you put it into that lamp. Then you group it before you begin to now distribute that bollard lamp all around. So it is quite easy. So I'm going to come here, enable that light. So now this is where strategic position is very, very important. If you notice the way I position the lights, so they are actually adding some dots of, nice effect with glare. which I have enabled to the image, and it's looking really, really cool. The problem I have with them now is that the intensity is not much. You can see we can't see their effect on the floor. Unlike here, where we can see that, oh, light is coming from here, light is coming from this, this area, we can see the effect and all that. So what I'm going to do is maybe to increase to 10,000. Now you can see the effect coming up. So if the 10,000 is okay, then fine. If it is not, I can increase it, a little bit more. But one of the problem I have with that is as I'm increasing it, even though it's looking really, really good, the bloom and glare on it is really, really getting annoying. And I'm going to leave it at that 20. One of the things I can do is to scroll down, and under the viewport you are going to see gizmo size, and reduce that gizmos to like 0.5. So that 0.5 is still much, maybe like 0.2. So any other thing about the glare is going to be set here. So let me set the glare to maybe 1 instead of 3. And let's see, it's looking weird. So I can just put it on maybe like 2, reduce the bloom intensity by 0.1 and the glare intensity by maybe 2. So maybe I can reduce the radius because it's still looking, big somehow. So maybe I should set the radius to 25. And the problem with that is, as I set the radius to 25, you can see that the light itself, reduced in intensity. And that's one major problem with using the default watt. So what if I change it to lux? The problem I have with lux is the intensity. I don't just, understand it. So quite a number of people use lumen, and I think I should use lumen because the advantage of lumen is that you can set your intensity and or the gizmo size will not be affected. So the radius is not going to be, so that radius is going to be useful for glare, and yet everything is going to be fine. So I'm still looking at it, everything looks somehow. I still don't like the way those glare works, but I'm going to just leave them, for now. Maybe I should change this back to 3. Okay, I think 3 will actually work. I think it will work well. So I can come back to it and edit it. And you can see how we have nice effects here. But I still feel like maybe I should reduce this to 55. I think I'm okay with this. It's not too much. So another method you can use, because everything is fine now, I can just go on and render. That's fine. That's beautiful. But another thing you can do is, if you have a situation like this, maybe we should start from 20k. So it's low. So let's do 50. I want to show you another in some situations you can actually reset some things to, no, you can actually put some things in order. So let's say you have this and you feel like the light here is not enough. The light at the foreground here is not enough, and you don't want to bump this up than this because it's actually nice, but I just want to have much more light to actually light up this place, which most times you don't need, because left to me this kind of evening is okay. So I'm coming, I feel like I should reduce the intensity of the light inside. It seems to be coming out a little bit too much, so let's set it to 75. And I think maybe I should use a warmer light inside. So I have that, no problem. So everything looks good, but let's say I want to fill some area, especially in this foreground with light. I can create light. So this particular one is just to fill, to make this, area a little bit brighter. And I'm going to set it to rectangle, of course, and I'm going to create light like this. Because the reason I'm showing this is because that's actually the method that I used to brighten this place up. Of course, the materials are different. The materials that I use on if these two floors are different, but you never can tell. You can find yourself in this kind of situation. So that's why I want to show you. So I create that light. I'm going to stop the interactive rendering because of time. Okay. So I set the size to 5,000, 5,000, and I raised it up about 3.6 meters. So I move it in, a little bit like this, just to cover, this area very well. And then I copy it. I copy it here too. So you are going to see the difference. Um, I think I have that cool. I can start interactive rendering. The idea is to just brighten up, the foreground a little bit so that it's not going to be too dark. You can see this area is, well brightened up, and yet it's going to look like as if it's the lights that are coming from these lamps and also from the environment that is giving us such nice illumination. But in this case, we want nice illumination, but what we are getting doesn't seem nice. So what I'm going to do is I will just start reducing the intensity. But before I reduce the intensity, I'm going to set the temperature to 6,500. I want it to just be a pure white light, and if I have any reason to adjust, I'm going to adjust it later. So let's set it to like 50 and see what is going to give us. Oh boy, it's too much, so I'm setting it at 10, and you can see now that it's not that much, but yet it's still too much for what we want to achieve. So normally I don't have to use this light, but I'm just using it to show you some technique that photographers use in reality to actually get what they want. It's looking cool. It's still too much, so I'm going to put it to 2. Remember, it is using watt, and that's why it seems like 2 is still giving us high intensity because of the size of the light. And now I can scroll down and edit the directionality to like 0.5. What that is going to do is going to actually limit how far the light travels. You can see now it's only affecting more or less like this area, and the way it's looking. So if that is the case, that means I can still reduce this further to like 1, because the light is concentrated on this area, so maybe like 0.5. Now I can see that the 0.5 seems to make sense, but you wouldn't really know if it makes sense or not because of the distraction that this light is showing us. We are seeing the light source, and what I can do about that is to scroll down to non-physical attributes, physical property, yeah, and disable visible directly. So by doing that, you are not going to see the light source again. And now, if you are not aware that I created that light, you will think that the sky is the one that is brightening this area up, and with the light that we have here, everything just makes sense. Of course, the temperature, maybe I should put it at 5,500 to be a little bit warmer so that it's not going to look fake. So you can see how it looks. And if I off that light, you are going to see the difference. You can see how dark this place is when I off the light. Let me use region render. So look at it, look at how dark it is, and when I on it, look at the difference. And if nobody tell you that there's a light that was used to achieve this, you will not know. You will think that everything is coming from all the lights that are here. So that's one of the method that photographers use to create images. Maybe I should reduce it to like 0.3 so that it will not be too much. I think right here we are through with the image creation, the lighting, and everything looks to make sense to me. We can of course add human beings and all those things, but there's no point doing that here right now. Everything is okay, and of course if you want to do it, you just go and drag it from Cosmos. You go and you choose 3D models, people, and you find the people that you want, and you use. But really there's no need for that, so we can just leave them out. Now one major thing that I'll show you is that we have fog around, at the background there, and here it seems like everything is just looking sharp. So to achieve that fog, I used something called z depth. So just like we had reflection and refraction and caustic the other time, the same way we can add z depth render element. So I'm just going to open up the render setup with it, and I will go to render element add, and I'm going to find corona z depth. So where is it? This is corona z depth. I'm going to just uh, get it, and it has settings. That settings, black and white. And if you want to understand how the setting works, check here. Okay, I just added it. I want to stop and resume interactive rendering to see the render element. So wait for it for a little while. So now if you go here, you see z depth, and when you look at it, you see nothing. Everything is just pure black. Now I let me explain what is happening. What you want to do is you want to create a gradient of black and white, and you want to use it to simulate a lot of things actually. So the distance between the camera, let me choose the camera. If I choose the camera now, where the camera is and where the camera target is, if you check here, you are going to see that the target distance is about 20 meters. So now let's look at what that means here. If I set 500, so we are not seeing anything. So from 100 to 500, nothing. Let's put it on 1000. We are seeing nothing as well. Let's put it on 5000. We're supposed to start seeing, that gradient of black and white here. You can see some areas are, whiter than the others. So it's more or less like a grayscale. So let's put it on 15,000. You can see now it is showing the geometries, in this color gradient. And if I put it on 25,000, see how it is actually making sense. So I'm just going to put it on like maybe 45,000. That's like 45 meters. Then I'm going to leave it at that. I think I'm okay with this, or maybe we should do 50. So this is what we are going to be using in post-production to create the fog. So everything is set, our light is set, our render elements are set. So let's just go on to do the final rendering, and I'm going to get back. Thank you. All right, so I remember before I press the render, you're going to see something is happening here. Very, very important for you to note. You can see this area is looking weird and it's black. So what could be the cause of that? So let's start interactive rendering. Let's pick render region. The rendering is still, the system is becoming a little bit slower now. So I'm just going to render that region. And it is actually coming from this. The problem is coming from this light. So what I'm going to do is I'll select the light. I'll go to that non-physical property and I'll disable occlude other light. So if I do that, you're going to see now this place is clear. So if I enable it again, you will see it is more or less like it is casting shadows and create ambient occlusions. So we don't need it. So we are going to disable that, and that's going to give you a nice, transition between, the way the lights interact with this wall. So that's very, very good. And I'm just going to stop again and start rendering. So I'm going to just press render. Everything is set and we just press render. So the rendering might take a couple of times. So let's just wait for it. All right. So as I was rendering, I discovered an error and I have to show you. You can see this light is not, in the appropriate place. So what can I do? I can just select the light. It is one of those things that happens. You might not know when some things like that, occurs, but you should know how to handle them. So I just have to lift them up to where they belong. And now as I've done that, I'm going to press Ctrl S to save. And after the save, I'm just going to come back. I stopped the rendering. It has started the rendering and it's on 11 passes already. And now I have this. Does that mean I'm going to start all over again? No, I'm just going to come to, this render here. I'm going to resume last. So it's going to resume from where it stops. So it is loading. Yeah, it has started rendering. And what I'm going to do, instead of waiting, for this area, I'm just going to window that area out. And you can see now I'm having that. As this one is coming brighter, this one will be decreasing. So I'll leave it for a while because it's going to take time to actually remove this particular light. It's going to take a while, so it might take about maybe 20 to 30 passes. So I'll just have to wait for it. So if I don't want to wait for it like that, then it's just better I restart the rendering all over. So if I've not spent much time, I've only spent 8 minutes anyway. So it's really, really not that significant amount of time that I cannot let go. So in that regard, I can let go. But if it's material, if it's something, I know that will render faster. If it is not light and it's just material like this, then I can give it a try and just leave it. So most times I do this, I just leave it like this and it continue to, render until I can't see this light again. But in this case, I'm just going to stop. And when you stop, it's going to start applying the noiser. So I'm going to cancel it instead. And I'm going to close the region render and start, rendering all over since it's just 8 minutes and I only have this one image to render, so it's fine. All right, so you can see after an hour, 5 minutes, so we have this, and I think it's quite cool and okay. The noise level is 3.38, and according to Corona, they said estimates of remaining noise level in the image. A limit for the noise level can be set in render settings, of course. Around 2% is usually being enough for the final images. 5% for the final image with denoising, and anything higher than that is suitable for previews. Now, what they are saying is that if we have 5% here, so it is good with denoiser. It's going to give you, a nice image, but 2% is usually what they say is usually good for what's it called, a detailed, clean image. And right here, if you look, you'll see that the image is clean, enough. So we already have the noiser, so at least we are like two. Oh, is it 2.6? It's because of that little um region that I created now. So we are around 2.83. So that is actually good. So we can stop it now and go ahead and save the files for post production. So I'm going to just stop. Then as I stop, it's going to apply the noiser. So it's going to take a little while, maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes. It cannot be more than 1 minute anyway, to quickly apply the denoiser to the image so that it's going to clean out all the remaining noises. But left to me, this is nice. As that one is going on, if you notice this image very well, you are going to notice that it is a little bit warm. It's a little bit warm because the light that was used, actually the HDRI, have warm effect to it, so it's a little bit warm. What I can do is to come to tone mapping and set the white balance to like 6,000. So I've reduced the warmness a little bit. You see now it's a little bit cold around there. So I'm going to save it now. If you notice, everything is done. I'm going to save, and under save, you can save all. And now I'm going to just go to the where I want to save it, and I'm just going to pick where I want to save it, and save as evening render.tif. All right, so having saved it, let's check here. You can see we have all of them: 1, 2, 3, 4. Then of course caustic, we don't have caustic, but we didn't remove that render element the other time. So we can open Photoshop now and do the remaining editing there. All right, so let's open Photoshop. I'm going to, open the files and go to desktop, then find those files. So from here to here, I'm going to pick all the 5 of them. All right, okay, but this is not involved. All these 4, okay, good. So this is the base layer, so it's quite cool and nice. So I'm going to just pick each of these render element control. I'm going to pick the refract first. I'm going to press Ctrl A. I'm going to press Ctrl C, and I'm going to paste it here with Ctrl V, and do the same thing for the reflection. Ctrl C and Ctrl V. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the Z depth. I'm going to paste it here. So I can close all these other ones and off these layers. So I just reinstall Windows, and the Windows is not activated yet. So bear with me as you are seeing this here. Now you look at it, and 100% is quite cool. What can we do first? The first thing I want to do is to just apply all these render elements. So I'm going to just put it to screen mode, and you can see what is happening over there. Is quite too much, so I'm going to just put it to like maybe 10%. Really, I don't think I really need it, but let's just leave it. Then this also, I'm going to put it on screen, and it's not looking like I will want it. So I'm actually thinking that maybe what I used, here for the reference image was not reflection, but specularity. So specular, so possible. That's what I use there, because the reflection is making it worse. So what I can do is to remove that reflection. I don't need much of that. This one will be used later after I finish the editing. So I'm going to just press Ctrl Alt Shift and E together on the keyboard to copy all the editing that I've done and merge it into one image. And this image, I'm just going to go to filter, just like I have done in the previous tutorial. So yeah, get started. And what I'm going to do there is, the first thing I'm going to do is to reduce the highlight. Now you can see that highlight over there on the glass is, greatly reduced. And I'm thinking, okay, what should I do after that? Okay, let's just click OK for that. So the highlight is toned down, and very, very good. What I'm going to do also is I'm going to press Alt and press this mask here to mask it out. So what I want to do is I only need this area for that highlight that I have, reduced. So now you can see it comes out better. But as I did that, this area becomes a little bit darker here. So I'm going to just change the brush back to white and remove that area that was affected. Okay, so that's good. So if I change, so if I off and on, you can see the difference. I was able to actually get back some nice, reflection over that place. And it's still not totally perfect, so I'm going to just reduce and still go over here. Of course, it's not that easy. There's another method, but I just don't want anything to look complicated to you. So still looking weird. So let's leave it like that. Oops. Okay, if it's working this way, I will remove the layer mask, delete it, and instead I'm going to use the pen tool. Where is the pen tool here? I've forgotten. Okay, this is it. So I'll just carve out this side like this, and I'll make selection. I'll give it 2 pixel radius. So that's it. Then I can now apply a layer mask. So I'm having a layer mask here now, and it looks good. It looks nice. I'm still okay. I think it's cool. So you can see the difference. So that's another way to do it. What I want to do next is to still combine everything together and still use camera raw filter, and in this case now I can begin to actually bump some things up. I can still reduce this a little, but maybe increase the exposure a little as well. Push the shadow in a little. You can see the depth that I'm creating around here with the shadow. being pushed. So I can increase the white to actually give nice contrast, push the black into, so we have nice depth all around here. With texture and clarity, we have much more contrast and vibrance too. So now with vibrance, I don't need much about the saturation. You can see how the image went, from that to this. So it's quite nice. I said the image is too warm the other time, so I'm going to just come to hue and saturation, and I'm going to pick, a point, and you can see the reds, over there. So I'm going to reduce the reds, and it's affecting the whole image now, but no problem. I'm going to pick yellow too and try and reduce it, so the image is not looking that nice, just the way I want it again. But I can select the layer mask and invert it. So by doing that, the image came back, but I can press B on the keyboard now for the brush and brush out the area I don't want to be warm like this. So don't want that light to be too warm here and here too. You can see now the image is not too warm again. If I don't want it here, I can do that. I'm just looking randomly at, the facade itself. I don't want, it to be unnecessarily warm. You can see when I'm off and on it. So it's just like creating a kind of color separation. And there are some places I want to be warmer too. So what I can do with that is can I play with color balance? Yeah, I can make it warm like this, warm like this. On the mid-tone, the shadow, maybe something similar. So see the depth of that warmness. So doing that, the image is warm again, and I can control high, and with the brush, I can still, bring the warmness to some parts that I think I want to be warmer. So I think that's the part that I want to be warmer, and possibly this too. Yeah. So look at it. So I just generally show you some of the little things that you can do apart from, your render engine, that can actually pop up a little bit. So now that I've done this, what I'm going to do next is to combine everything. Control Shift E again, and now I can come to filter and just sharpen the image, smart sharpen, and it's on 200, and you can see how sharpened. If I put it on 100%, you see how sharpened the image is, and I think it's okay. I think the 200% is okay, so I can click OK. But some areas are not supposed to be that sharpened. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to apply a layer mask and change to black brush, and brush those areas. So the black color means that those areas should not be sharpened. I don't want anything that will be looking fake. So some things are not supposed to be sharpened, and some things will do well by sharpening. So having done that, I think everything is making sense now. 100%, yeah, it's making sense. So we can now apply the fog. So let's enable this and put it on screen. And having done screen will remove the black and leave the white, and in this case is a gradient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Ctrl high to invert the layer, and you can see now I've inverted it. So that means the ones that are white before have now turned black, and the ones that are black have turned white. So looking cool, but too much. So I'm just going to adjust it just like this, and I can double it. Sorry, Control J to double it. You can see how we have such depth, and maybe increase it a little bit, and remove some part of the image by applying layer mask. And I just don't want it to affect the image, from the foreground to the midground. And you can see what we have there. So I think it's cool. It can be better because I can continue to tweak it here and there, but what I need to show you is the idea that is behind what I do, and you can actually take it further. The next thing I'm going to do is to apply um what is called vignette. So I'm going to just put it on multiply, and I'm going to create a rectangle marquee tool on the image for the multiply layer, and I'm going to press shift F6 on the keyboard to bring out the feather radius, and I'm going to put it on like 120. 120 should be good, or maybe undo and do 200. So having done that, I can delete the layer, and what I selected will be remaining. You can see I can press Ctrl D, and if I off and on it, you can see how good it is. What I always do is to still adjust it a little bit, but here I can put curve under that layer, and raise the midpoint a little, so we have that, and you can see how nice it is. I can reduce it a little. So now I save it. That's how to create evening render. So I'll save on the computer instead. And now PNG, and that's it. Thank you.